Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into some of the wildest Reddit stories while I explore my craft. So sit back, relax, and let's see what crazy posts people have shared. Don't forget to grab a snack, this is gonna be good. I'm a pizza delivery guy. One night I had an insanely hectic evening, driving back and forth across town without a break. I didn't even have time to take a leak. I was so busy I didn't think about bathroom breaks at all, even though it was scorching hot and I kept chugging water. Then, on the way to yet another delivery, the urge to pee hit me hard. Luckily, I was already close to the customer's address and figured I could take care of the problem quickly. Or so I thought. I pulled up to the house. I knew the neighborhood well, I'd delivered here many times. But something was off. Not a single light shone in the windows, not even the glow of a TV. To top it off, there was dead silence outside. It's a college area, so sure, in July most student tenants are gone, but someone had to be there, the person who ordered the pizza. Maybe they just like sitting in the dark, or are hanging out in the yard. Still, I definitely didn't want to get out of the car and knock on a pitch-black house. It was about 9:30 p.m. I wasn't going to move until I was sure I had the right address and that the customer was inside. The night was stiflingly hot even though the sun had set long ago. My car's AC is garbage and the hot pizzas only made it worse, so I tried to open the door as little as possible to keep the heat out. I called the number on the order. On the other end I heard quick, uneven breathing and a short I tried to speak clearly and simply. "Hey, your pizza is at the door, but it looks like nobody's home." The customer replied, still breathless. "I'm not there. At home." By then I had to pee so badly my patience snapped, and I barked more sharply than I meant to. "Then I'll have to cancel the order. I came during the delivery window and you were supposed to pay cash. I don't know what to tell you, plan better next time." I immediately regretted letting my bladder talk for me, because the voice on the other end became clearer, a young, flustered woman, maybe 20 to 25 years old. "Oh my God, I was running down the street and almost didn't hear you," she said, sniffling. "I just switched you from my AirPods." "That's better. Sorry, I totally lost track of time at work, but I knew you were coming so I'm literally running home right now. Please don't leave. I'm starving and I don't have a car. Seriously, don't go, 5 minutes max." I knew what it was like to be hungry, late, carless, and far from food. And hearing her voice, I remembered delivering here a couple of times before. She'd always been very nice. I felt ashamed for snapping. I tried to smooth things over while scanning outside for a spot to relieve myself. No, that's on me. I'm just losing my mind in this heat. It's not your fault. Take your time, I'll wait." I hung up and looked around the street. No luck, every other house had people around, and the homes were so close together there were no trees or private corners. Of course, like an idiot, I'd tossed my empty water bottle on the last run. Finally I decided it was an emergency. The safest option was the bush in front of her house. She wasn't home, the porch light was off, and no one else was around. My car was across the street, and our little pizzeria doesn't require uniforms, so even if someone spotted me, they couldn't tie me to the job. Animals pee outside all the time, humans are animals too. I hurried to the tallest shrub by the walkway right next to the front door. Really, there wasn't much of a yard, just a path with bushes and flowers. The thickest bush, the only spot where I could be sure I wouldn't splash the house wall, was barely a meter from the front door. I glanced around, unzipped, and let it flow. And immediately, with the first rush of relief, I realized the sound was wrong, like I was hitting something solid instead of dirt. I panicked, thinking I'd missed my mark. But once you've started, you can't stop midstream, so I kept squinting into the darkness to see if there was a rock or something. Maybe I could just shift a few centimeters. Then a far more alarming sound, a muffled male voice shouted, "What the hell?" Before I could turn, thinking a neighbor had caught me, a man burst out of the bush, soaked in my golden shower, spitting on the ground. I'm pretty sure I'd hit his face. By then my eyes had adjusted enough to make out his height, build, and clothing in rough detail. I didn't see where he went. Maybe a minute later I heard squealing brakes farther down the street. I stood there in shock, not even tucking myself back in, trying to process what had just happened. My mind scrambled for a rational explanation. Could the bushes lead to a backyard and just look like they were right against the house? Maybe they covered an open window. But my inner voice screamed, Dude, that guy was wearing a hoodie in 90-degree heat. Bad news. You're in a messed up situation. The thought that I'd been only a couple of steps from a man hiding in the bushes outside a young woman's home at night terrified me. My fight or flight instinct completely misfired. Instead of running, my stupid brain did the worst thing possible. I stepped closer to check my theory. I circled to the side, turned on my phone flashlight, and tried to peer behind the bushes. Light can make dark things even creepier, and it did. That's when I saw the bag, a worn canvas drawstring backpack, splashed with some of my urine. Still in shock, I grabbed it, thinking, this explains why he was there. When I opened it, inside were a sharp knife, a roll of duct tape, and some pills. Any remaining illusions shattered. Adrenaline and pure survival instinct flooded in. My focus sharpened like never before. One goal: get to the car. I dropped the bag, bolted across the street, jumped into my car, and floored it before the door even closed. I drove as fast and as far as I could until I hit a red light. I pulled onto the shoulder of a 24-hour pharmacy parking lot to catch my breath. Finally calm enough to buckle up and think, I asked myself, who do I call first, the police or the girl who lived in that house? I debated for maybe 10 seconds, but when I looked at the clock an hour had passed. I decided, okay, I'm in a locked car with the engine running. If something starts, I can drive off. I know something's wrong and she might not know. I need to warn her not to go home. But as I dialed her number, it hit me, what if there is no girl? I was sure I'd delivered here before, but what if I was mistaken? What if the girl on the phone was just bait to lure me in, to rob me, or worse? Every pizza driver on earth has seen the Evil Genius documentary. She'd been breathing hard. She wasn't home. It was all strange. I couldn't take the risk. I'd start with the cops. I called 911. The dispatcher was polite and helped calm me down. By then I was a wreck. I kept insisting they had to get there before the girl arrived, but I was trying to convey 3 thoughts at once and just confused myself. You have to save this girl, because he wasn't waiting for me. I just deliver pizza. But if he was waiting for me, maybe there is no girl. But I talked to her, so you need to find her, because someone used her to lure me. But if she's real, she doesn't know about the guy. He was real and there could be more. Even if she doesn't exist, there could still be others. I only checked part of the bushes, so I can't be sure. But you'll recognize him because I peed all over him. I didn't mean to. At first I thought the girl was real but just not home. She might be real, and you absolutely need to find her, because the man was definitely real. They finally just told me to stay on the line and be quiet. Then the client called me, but I couldn't answer without dropping 911, so I ignored it. She texted, "Hey, I'm here, I don't see you." I told 911 she'd arrived. They said officers were only a couple of minutes away. Still, after all my frantic rambling, who knew if they'd really hurry? Guilt washed over me. Rationally, I knew the odds that she was part of a scam to target a pizza driver were tiny. Far more likely she was the intended victim of a predator. I can hear them, but they can't hear me, I muttered, spinning the car around and heading back. My heart pounded like it would burst. I took 911 off mute and told them I was returning to find the girl. They didn't like that at all, but then I saw her. She was walking between parked cars, trying to spot my vehicle. I flashed my headlights. She happily skipped over carefree. I decided that was a good sign. She wasn't in on anything. But I was still terrified because I had no idea what was really happening. Get in, I whispered. She said, "Get in? What? Do you want me to grab the pizza from the trunk?" Not wanting to repeat my 911-style chaos, I blurted only the essentials. "There was a man in your bushes. I'm on the phone with the police. I don't know where he is now. Please get in the car so we can lock the doors." My voice shook like I'd downed 10 cups of black coffee. I showed her my phone screen with the active 911 call so she could see I was serious. I thought that was why she got in without question, but it wasn't the only reason. 911 kept asking, "Are you still on the line? Is she with you? Are you safe? Is anyone else there?" They were confused about the third person I was speaking to. I reassured them and we drove, carefully this time, to the location they told us to wait while police swept the area. From there, I barely had to do anything. A patrol car arrived quickly. I gave my statement, explained everything I'd seen. She spoke to the cops in more detail. It turned out the reason she climbed into a stranger's car so quickly wasn't just my phone screen. From my description, she immediately knew who the man was, her abusive ex. Later, she called our pizzeria to thank me and insisted on leaving a huge tip. I wasn't there, so the coworker who took the call didn't know to refuse, but our manager promised that next time we see her we'll shower her with free pizza flyers for life. Without doubt, it was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, on or off the job. I rarely tell this story because I don't want anyone identifying the girl or anything about that night. But it shook me to my core. Even knowing that guy wasn't after me personally, it changed me. Before we move on to the next story, I want to say that in my last Scary Stories video I asked whether you prefer obviously fictional tales or more realistic ones. So in this video, I'm sharing true stories, or at least ones that sound very much like they really happened, according to the authors. Now, on to the next story. A crazy man scared the living daylights out of me when I was a kid, and now, 16 years later, he's back. This happened when I was about 9. I'm 25 now, and I'll never forget it. I still get chills. I lived in a townhouse, 4 homes connected together. Like our neighbors, we had a small backyard patio. About 10 meters beyond the patio there was a little road where people strolled on weekends. Only a low fence separated our patio from that road. The neighborhood was pretty dense, with lots of similar townhouses, so plenty of people walked that road. Nothing unusual about that. But a random guy standing right on our patio? That's different. When I was 9, I usually came home from school about an hour before my mom got off work. I lived only about 50 meters from the school, so my mom thought I was old enough to stay home alone for an hour in the daytime. That day I came home from school and did my usual routine, checked that the front door was locked and double-checked that the back door leading to the patio was locked too. At 9, being alone was a little scary, even if it was only for an hour in broad daylight. Then I ran upstairs to my room to squeeze in some PlayStation time before Mom came home and made me do homework. While I was playing, I heard a noise outside my window. My room overlooked the patio and that little road I mentioned. The sound was kind of like a cat. My cat had been missing for over 3 months. My heart jumped. Oh God, is he back? I rushed downstairs to see if it was my cat. What I saw still gives me shivers. A man was standing on our patio. Tall, with black hair falling over half his face, he looked like a male version of the girl from The Ring. He was making these high-pitched sounds, and they led him back. 2 days later I called the facility again. We made an arrangement. His name is Tom. And now I consider Tom a friend. Every Sunday since then, Tom and his caregivers come over to watch cartoons. They say it's the highlight of his week. It warms my heart. Damn, something's in my eye. I can't stop tearing up. You're an amazing person. I once met a little boy with autism when I worked as a furniture repair tech. Their couch side panel had broken. It was the boy's favorite spot. I could have just left and said it wasn't covered by warranty. Instead, I spent hours making that panel the strongest, comfiest part of the couch. Extra wood, thick foam, long screws. Now you need a sledgehammer to break it. Afterward I let the boy raise and lower the windows in my van about 50 times. He loved the power windows. He hugged me before I left. The next day his mother called and insisted I stop by again. She wanted to thank me. I said it wasn't necessary, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. On my way home I dropped in and she literally pressed $100 into my hand, tears in her eyes. I'll always remember how good it felt to help them, and how much they appreciated it. Just wanted to share. Story 3. My brother saw a ghost when we were kids. 10 years later, I finally understood what he'd really seen. I was about 7, and my brother was around 10. It was well past midnight when our mom woke up from dozing on the couch to send us to bed. Dad was working construction in another city at the time, so for weeks at a time it was just the 3 of us at home. When you went up the stairs and immediately turned right, you entered our parents' bedroom. If you turned left instead, you ended up in the center of the hallway. My brother's room was down the hallway to the left. My room was to the right, with the bathroom directly across from it. At both ends of the hallway there were glass doors that we always kept locked and almost never used. The door on my side led to a balcony overlooking the front yard. The door on my brother's side led to the back porch. The house sat on a small hill. My brother and Mom both had the habit of getting up at night to use the bathroom. I knew this because I was a light sleeper, and they always flushed with the door open. But that night, my brother, already nearly at his room, turned back toward the bathroom and said, "I'll try to pee before bed. The last few nights I've been too scared to go to the bathroom. I keep seeing a man in stripes at the end of the hallway." I don't know if Mom thought he was just trying to spook me, or if she was too sleepy to notice, but she didn't react. I, on the other hand, was scared out of my wits. The fear of seeing a striped ghost at the end of the hallway or in a window became the reason I would sprint from the stairs to my room at night. Years later, when I was about 18, Mom and I were driving in her car and talking about the dog we briefly had when I was little. We remembered how Max used to chew my shoes and get into mischief, when Mom suddenly blurted out, "Remember when I opened the door for the police and Max ran into the kitchen and tore into that huge bag of dog food?" I was stunned. In all the years we'd lived in that house, we had never once called the police. We had a gun, we lived in a quiet rural area in West Virginia. It just didn't happen. I asked her what she meant, and she looked surprised, as if she hadn't meant to let it slip. "Oh right, I never told you. You were too young. One night I woke up to noises under my window and saw a man staring right into my bedroom." She said she turned on the light. He bolted and ran. She grabbed Dad's pistol and called the police. I don't remember all the details I gave them. Tall white man, striped shirt, jeans, short dark hair, something like that. They said the description matched a man they were looking for in the area. Turned out he had escaped from prison, where he was serving time for murder. Of course, now it all sounds obvious when you hear these stories together. But only years later, in my 20s, did I put the pieces together. My brother, without realizing it, had actually been warning us about an escaped murderer who'd been hiding near our house for several nights. Well, that's the end of the story. Thanks for listening all the way through. Check out our previous videos right here, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Good luck!